The American dream of homeownership feels more like a financial nightmare for millions. In markets all across the United States, prices have become completely detached from local incomes, fueled by speculation and historically low rates. But that era is definitively over, and as the tide goes out, we are about to see who has been swimming naked. Consider this your cross-country road trip into the heart of the American housing bubble. We are mapping out the 10 U.S. cities with the riskiest housing markets for 2026. These are not just places where prices are slowing down. These are markets showing multiple red flags, from massive inventory spikes to collapsing sales volume and extreme overvaluation. These are the cities where buying a home today could become your biggest financial regret by 2026. You might be expecting to see just the usual suspects in California and New York, but the data reveals a much different and more widespread story. The most vulnerable markets are now in the Sun Belt, the Mountain West, and the New South, places that experienced a massive, unsustainable boom during the pandemic. In fact, the #1 riskiest city is a place that thousands flocked to for affordability, a pandemic darling that is now facing a very painful hangover. As we begin this journey, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you live in one of these metro areas, let us know what you're seeing on the ground in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell because you're not going to want to miss this entire list. Number 10, Atlanta, Georgia. Our road trip begins in the southeast. You've seen the boom, the development, and the cranes all over the skyline of Atlanta. But the party in Hotlanta is cooling at a shocking speed. The story here is a simple one. Demand is evaporating and inventory is swelling. Redfin's recent data shows Atlanta home prices are already down nearly 5% year over year. That's a significant reversal. But the more alarming number is the time on the market. Homes are sitting for a median of 77 days. That is a massive jump from just 54 days last year. Buyers are no longer frantic, they are patient, and they have the power. Because of this, sellers are getting desperate. A report from Zillow notes that over 30% of all listings in Atlanta have had a price cut. The bidding wars are officially a distant memory. This is happening as the for-sale inventory is swelling. Zillow reports over 5,000 homes are currently on the market. This glut of inventory is hitting a wall of falling demand. Redfin's data showed that the number of homes sold fell by nearly 1% even as new listings climbed. But the market risk isn't just economic. First Street Foundation data gives Atlanta a major flood risk. They project that 12% of all properties in the city will be severely affected by flooding over the next 30 years. That's over 11,900 homes. Add to that a moderate fire risk with over 37,000 properties in danger according to this same report. It's a perfect storm of slowing demand, rising inventory, desperate sellers, and severe, uninsurable climate risk. Atlanta is sliding into a deep buyer's market. If you're thinking about buying in Atlanta, you need to weigh these risks heavily. Number 9, Charlotte, North Carolina. Driving north just a few hours, our road trip's next stop is this jewel of the New South, a city that became a magnet for banking and tech jobs. The Queen City saw explosive double-digit price growth for years, but the numbers now are pointing to a significant and painful correction. Reventure News stated bluntly in their 2025 analysis that home value growth in Charlotte has officially dropped to negative 0.4%. The appreciation has vanished. Their home price forecast score is a dismal 37 out of 100. This firmly places Charlotte in a buyer's market and, according to their model, projects further price declines. This correction is long overdue. Reventure's data shows that Mecklenburg County, the heart of Charlotte, is still an estimated 29% overvalued compared to its long-term fundamentals. Sellers are feeling this pain acutely. Nearly 30% of all listings in Mecklenburg have already undergone price cuts. Loan Pronto's 2025 market analysis confirms this shift. They note the average days on market has jumped to 64 days, up from just 53 days the previous year. But the most critical statistic is inventory. They also highlight that the housing inventory has grown by a massive 27.2% year over year. This mountain of inventory is hitting a brick wall of affordability. The average monthly mortgage payment in Charlotte has soared to around $2,747, pricing out a huge portion of local buyers. Charlotte is a classic case of prices growing much, much faster than local incomes could ever hope to support. The foundation is broken, and the correction is just beginning. It's a market to watch with extreme caution. Let us know in the comments if you think the big banks will step in to save the local market.
Number 8. Nashville, Tennessee. Let's head west on our journey into the heart of country music. Nashville transformed into an it city and a bachelorette party destination. It was one of the hottest, most desirable markets in the country for the last 5 years, but that tune is changing fast, and the data is alarming. The market has completely flatlined. ReVenture News reports that year-over-year home value growth has collapsed to just 0.1%. The rocket ship has run out of fuel. The forecast is even more alarming. Nashville's home price forecast score is just 30 out of 100. That is one of the worst in the nation, signaling a severe decline is projected through 2026. Even with this slowdown, the market is dangerously overvalued. Trousdale County, part of the metro, is sitting at a 49.5% overvaluation rate. Sellers are in denial, but the market is forcing their hand. In Davidson County, the heart of Nashville, a stunning 32.2% of listings have seen price cuts. Redfin's latest data confirms the slowdown. The median days on market has climbed to 68 days, up from just 60 days last year. And just like Atlanta, Nashville faces a major flood risk. According to First Street, 14% of all properties are at risk of severe flooding. But the even more terrifying risk is the major heat risk. First Street projects a 185% increase in the number of days over 106 degrees Fahrenheit in the next 30 years. It's a city where home prices are completely disconnected from local incomes, the market is projected to fall, and the climate risks are soaring. Think twice before you sign on the dotted line in Music City.
Number 7. Tampa, Florida. We're pulling out the sunscreen as our road trip heads south to a state that has been the epicenter of the real estate frenzy. The entire state of Florida has been on fire, but Tampa is showing serious signs of getting burned. Zillow reports a 5.2% decline in average home values year over year by late 2025. The correction is already happening. The most shocking number, however, is inventory. A Mangrove Bay Realty analysis notes a 36.3% year-over-year rise in active listings. The months of supply, which is a key metric of market health, has exploded. It has gone from a dangerously low 1.2 months in 2023 to as high as 5.6 months in 2025. That is a massive shift. It has flipped from an insane seller's market to a balanced, and in many neighborhoods, a full-blown buyer's market. The bidding wars are over. The saving grace, for investors at least, is the rental market. Rental yields are averaging a strong 6.2%, and rents have been rising. This creates a dangerous paradox. It's a good place to be a landlord, but an increasingly risky place to be a home buyer. The high rental demand is being fueled by people who can no longer afford to buy, which is a sign of a fundamentally broken and unaffordable market for the average person. If you are buying a home to live in, you are now competing with a powerful investor-driven rental market while facing the headwind of falling home values. That is a high-risk gamble. Are you seeing this in your Florida city?
Number 6. Las Vegas, Nevada. Now we leave the humidity behind and fly into the desert. Our trip takes us to a city built on spectacle and risk. What happens in Vegas is a housing market that is heavily and dangerously influenced by outside forces. The forecast is already negative. Zillow projects a decrease in home values of 1.2% over the next year. The market is loosening fast. Rice Las Vegas reports that active listings have climbed nearly 37% since last fall. At the exact same time, sales activity has trended lower, dropping 8%. More homes, fewer buyers. This has pushed the months of available inventory from 3.1 to 4.6 months, another clear shift toward a buyer's market. But here is the most shocking statistic about Las Vegas. According to Rice Las Vegas, investors account for roughly 23% of all home sales in the area. Since the year 2000, investors have purchased approximately 131,710 homes in the valley. This means the market stability is partially dependent on these investors holding on to their properties. If they get spooked by falling prices and decide to sell, they could flood the market with inventory overnight. This is all happening while the local unemployment rate, as of June 2025, was 5.8%. That is significantly higher than the national average. You have a market with falling prices, rising inventory, high unemployment, and a massive, unpredictable investor presence. That is not a safe bet. Don't gamble on this market.
Number 5. Salt Lake City, Utah. From the desert floor, our road trip climbs into the mountains. We're visiting a city that was another pandemic boomtown, attracting thousands of tech jobs and remote workers. This city was a poster child for the work-from-home migration. But the high altitude is making the market dizzy, and it's transitioning fast. Bigger Pockets' August 2025 update calls it, "The market is transitioning into a buyer's market." The reason is simple: rising inventory and easing demand. The national forecast, which Salt Lake City is following, suggests a modest correction. Their analysis warns that national prices are likely to slip into negative territory by year's end, and Salt Lake City is following that trend. The good news for the market stability is that, unlike 2008, borrower credit quality is high. The median credit score is often over 750. But this is the risk. The market is entirely dependent on mortgage rates. Affordability has been stretched to its absolute limit. The modest drop in rates to the mid-6% range is the only thing keeping the market from collapsing. If rates were to tick back up, the market would seize. If rates go down, prices might stabilize, but they are stabilizing at a level that is still completely unaffordable for most local workers. This leaves the market trapped. Prices are too high to be sustainable, but the correction is being held back by rate-sensitive demand. It cannot go up, and it is fighting to not go down. It's a market on a knife's edge. Do you think it will find balance or topple over?
Number 4. Phoenix, Arizona. Heading back down to the desert, our trip finds a market that is already deep in a correction. The Valley of the Sun is experiencing what experts are calling a market reset, and it is not a gentle one. The Zillow Home Value Index reports the average home value in Phoenix is down 4.6% year over year as of September 2025. This is not a forecast. This is already happening. Realtor.com noted that Phoenix had one of the highest percentages of listings with price cuts in the entire nation. Inventory is elevated. Zillow's data shows over 5,200 homes for sale, while other reports show active listings hovering around 7,600. At the same time, homes sold or pending dropped roughly 12% in just 1 month earlier this year, a sign of demand pulling back. This has sellers completely spooked. A Z and Associates report noted a 47% year-over-year rise in delistings in the metro area. This means sellers are pulling their homes off the market rather than accept the lower prices buyers are offering. This is a clear sign of a market in gridlock. The investor pullback is real. Institutional investors, a huge force in Phoenix, saw their share of purchases fall in the first quarter of 2025. Phoenix is a rebalancing act, not a crash.
yet. But with falling prices, high inventory, spooked sellers, and fleeing investors, the advantage is all with the buyers. If you're selling in Phoenix, the next year looks very, very tough. Number 3. Miami, Florida. We are now entering our top 3 riskiest markets. For this, we have to fly back to Florida for the most bubblicious market of all. You might be shocked to see this so high, but you need to hear this. The financial services company UBS, in their 2025 Global Real Estate Bubble Index, ranked Miami as the #1 housing market bubble in the world. That is not a typo, in the entire world. This is the second consecutive year UBS gave Miami that title. UBS defines a bubble as a substantial and sustained mispricing of homes. And Miami's prices are certainly substantial. WLRN reports that median single-family home prices have jumped at least 70% since 2019. This has far outpaced the national average of 50%. The local economy cannot support this. The median household income in Miami is about $76,000. That income supports a mortgage for a home around $300,000. But the median price of a single-family home is $660,000. That is after a recent 1.5% drop. The condo market is even riskier. Norada Real Estate notes that condo inventory is up over 31%, creating a 14-month supply. A 6-month supply is balanced. 14 months is a deep buyer's market. The only thing holding the market up is cash. A staggering 37.1% of all sales in Miami are cash, more than double the national average. Miami is a market for the global super rich, completely detached from the local economy. When that outside cash high slows down, the bubble will face its reckoning. This is the definition of a high-risk market. Be incredibly careful. Number 2, Austin, Texas. Our penultimate stop is a city that became the #1 poster child for pandemic migration, tech transplants, and speculative frenzy. If you are in Austin, you are already living through this correction. The data is stunning, and it is a warning for the rest of the country. ReVenture app data shows that home values in Austin have already dropped a massive 21.5% from their peak in 2022. This is the largest correction of any major metro area in the entire country. The boom was the biggest, and the bust is proving to be the biggest. The good news, if you can call it that, is that this has made the market only 5 to 6% overvalued, meaning it is getting closer to reality. But the correction is not over. The Home Buying Institute forecasts that prices will continue to fall through the rest of 2025 and into early 2026. They predict prices might finally hit bottom in the third or fourth quarter of 2026. That means you are still potentially over a year away from the floor. This is a buyer's market in every sense of the word. The market suffers from excess supply. There are a lot of homes on the market, but not enough buyers to absorb them. Because of this, most properties are sitting on the market for well over 2 months before getting an offer. Austin is the perfect example of what happens when hype and speculation, not fundamentals, drive a market. The 2-year-long crash is not over, and buying now is the definition of trying to catch a falling knife. If you bought in 2022, you are likely underwater. This is a painful multi-$100,000 lesson in market timing. Number 1, Boise, Idaho. And now we've reached the end of our road trip. The #1 riskiest housing market in the United States for 2026. A city that, like Austin, was an absolute darling of the pandemic. Everyone was moving to Boise. The city became a symbol of the work-from-home exodus from California. That gold rush has left a deeply unstable market in its wake. Waypoint, Idaho's market report describes the market as rebalancing. Prices are steady to slightly up versus last year, but that is after a significant drop from the peak. The biggest red flag is inventory. House Canary's report notes that inventory levels in Boise are now the highest they have been since early 2020, before the pandemic even began. This rising inventory combined with low sales volume is shifting conditions toward a buyer's market. The problem is that Boise's prices shot up so fast, they're completely and totally disconnected from local wages. The affordability crisis here is one of the worst in the nation. The market is now saturated with new construction that builders are struggling to sell. Builders are offering massive incentives just to move properties. This creates a shadow inventory of homes that are completed but not yet sold, putting massive downward pressure on all resale values. While markets like Austin are already halfway through their crash, Boise is just at the beginning. Boise is our #1 riskiest market because it has all the ingredients for a prolonged downturn. Extreme overvaluation from its pandemic peak, massive new build inventory, and a local wage base that cannot support the prices. The party is over, and the cleanup will take years. This is the ultimate pandemic boomtown hangover. Let us know in the comments if you agree with our #1 pick.
From Atlanta to Boise, the story is the same. Home prices became disconnected from local incomes and are now facing a painful correction. If you found this road trip valuable, please hit that like button and share this video with someone you know who is thinking about buying or selling. Subscribe to the channel for more in-depth analysis of the U.S. economy and comment below with the city you want us to break down next. Thank you for watching. Stay informed and stay safe.